Do you really need to remove your mill scale before you run a weld, or can you just run right over it? What kind of impact does that have? We're gonna dive into that today. We're gonna do a bunch of tests at different levels of settings and see how the welds actually turn out. I recently did a video showing the limitations when you're running a welding machine that just plugs into 120 volts. In that video, I ran a few of the tests on some 1/4" plate that still had mill scale, and I got a lot of comments saying that isn't a best practice. Now, I brought this up in the video several times, that I did that on purpose because I wanted to look at the worst case condition if you have mill scale and you are limited on power. And I want to test mill scale versus no mill scale with lower settings like what you'd have on maybe a 120 volt machine or maybe just a bit above that. And then on some hotter settings that are still short circuit MIG, but running a little bit larger diameter wire and a little bit hotter. Now, my favorite tool to remove the mill scale are these purple strip discs. I'll put a link down in the description for them, but I like them better than a grinding wheel because they don't dig into your material. There are some other specialized mill scale discs that you can check out, but these are pretty cheap on Amazon and they work pretty well for me. So I've got some bright shiny metal here on half of the coupons, and so I'm going to have 2 that have mill scale and 2 that don't to run different settings with them. Now I'm going to set the machine here to 350 inches per minute, which is going to give me about 120 amps, and I'll leave it right at the recommended 19 volts for this. And then because this is a little bit lower amperage than I'd have ideally, I'm going to be able to move pretty slowly, and I'm going to use a little bit of manipulation, but notice I never leave the puddle. When you see, more of the MIG like TIG stack of dimes manipulation, that's kind of moving your puddle around. This is just spreading the puddle out and helping me to keep my pace. And in the end, I got a pretty good result. It looks a little bit cold because the settings are, but overall not too bad. Now let's try the exact same thing, at least to my best ability, to replicate it here without any mill scale. So with the mill scale removed, I'll use the same basic technique. Notice I'm doing just that little bit of manipulation, and I'm moving pretty slowly to allow that material, the filler metal and the heat to accumulate. Now notice I am getting a little bit of spatter here. That's largely because I'm running kind of the higher end of amperage for this little 030 wire. You can run it quite a bit higher, but when you get beyond this, you start to get more and more spatter. And notice it stuck to the material a little better, but I think it'd chip off just fine. So the weld bead profile's pretty similar for both of those, I'd say. I'm going to switch machines over to the MIG 2800. I just got this machine in to do a series on welding thicker material with higher amperage. This is an example of running spray transfer. I'm also going to be looking at dual shield flux core and some other processes like that over the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that. Now, spray transfer like that, when you're welding on thicker metal, that's going to be a great way to go, but today I'm going to turn this down a little bit just to keep running short circuit MIG, only with some higher settings. That way we aren't really introducing another variable, so I'm looking for that bacon frying sound like we had before, just a bit hotter with a little bit bigger wire. So here, when I started my weld, if you do the math, I should be somewhere around 200 or so amps with these settings. Now, my voltage is a little bit higher than I'd like, so I need either a little bit less voltage, a little bit more wire speed to run ideally, but since I only tacked up the 4 coupons, I'm just going to roll with it. It's not totally out of the question. It's just a little bit more spatter than I would normally like, but it's still pretty clean, not bad. So I'm going to run the same settings here and the same technique, just a very, very slight oscillation here. And this one is without mill scale. So we'll have one with and without mill scale on both the low and high settings that we can go ahead and test. Once again, not too bad a bead profile there. Now I'm going to test these welds in 2 different ways. I'm going to cut 1 inch off of each end and then polish it a little bit and etch it, and then I'm going to take that middle section and break it open from the root so that we can see along the entire length how well it penetrated and get a better overall picture. So I'm just using my portaband to split these open. You know, cutting through these welds on here is really hard on the blades. But after that, I true everything up here on my belt grinder and then polish it just a little bit with a Scotch-Brite pad, and that seems to be enough, generally speaking. So I have my layout here. Now I'm just going to use a little bit of etchant here to try to reveal the weld nugget the best I can and then break that center section open. I really need a better way to do this. I get a little nervous when I'm running these, but the point is to open them up. And I just wanted to point out here just how strong these welds are. I mean, even after it's broken along the whole length of the weld, look at what it takes to get it all the way apart. Now, if you're doing this on your own, you don't necessarily need it to be broken all the way apart. I just did it to be able to get a better look. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the results here. So this is the colder settings with mill scale. Now, if we look at the overall profile of the weld bead, I would like to see this approach, the toe of the weld approach at a little shallower angle. Right here, it's getting close to that 90-degree mark, but it isn't quite there. And you can see there is some amount of penetration into the material and down to the root, but not really past it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the break test results. Now, the fact that this broke open doesn't mean that it failed. What you're looking for here is along the whole length of the weld, did it consume the actual root? And I would say that no, it didn't here in this case. If you look, you can still see the original edge. It's a nice straight line. So it would have been nice to see more penetration. That being said, it did hold fairly well, and the breakage is all in the middle of the weld joint on both sides. So you certainly have some people talk about if conditions aren't ideal, it's just like weak as water. It's actually still a pretty strong weld, but definitely not best practice there. Now these are the same settings, those colder settings with the mill scale removed. Notice the toe of the weld is tied in much better. This angle where the toe approaches the base metal is much more shallow, so that's a good thing. That might have partially been variations in my technique, but I'm sure the removal of the mill scale helped. There's no undercut, and there wasn't in the other case either. That can be an issue with mill scale, is it can lead to undercut, but it did penetrate into the base material if you follow that line down in both cases, but not much into the root. You could see just a little bit of a gap right there at the root. So notice on the break test, once again, it's a pretty straight line across here. Right there, you were getting down into the root, right there in a few locations, but generally speaking, you're not getting in there very deep along the length of the joint. It did break in the weld material right here. You can see that it penetrated through, and you have some delamination on the top side, and then again on the bottom side. But still, potentially a little bit of lack of fusion running these colder settings. Again, this is running about 120 amps or so on this 1/4 inch thick material with 030 wire. So definitely colder than it needed to be. And so that's a struggle with or without mill scale. But, removing the mill scale definitely did help it run better. All right, so if we take a look here, these are the hotter settings with mill scale, and the weld bead profile is much better. Now the cross section I ended up with over here, it's piled up a little bit, which isn't ideal, but that's more of a technique issue than a process issue, and we're looking at the process here. So right here you can see more penetration down into the plate and past that root a little bit. So same thing over here, we got much better penetration. So those hotter settings still, could be hotter than that, honestly, on this 1/4 inch thick plate if you went to 045 wire or ran like a spray transfer or something like that. But you're definitely penetrating a lot better in past that mill scale. Now let's take a look at the break test, and notice along here, it's jagged all the way. So you don't have a straight line. That's what I like to see on a fillet weld break test, because that means that it penetrated down into the root along the whole length of the joint where it failed. Now, if you look at the failure up here, it's pretty deep into the base material there, more of like a delamination. However, on the bottom, you can see right here, it's just flat in a few areas. You have kind of a different sheen. And if you look on this bottom side here, right through there, I believe there was a little bit of lack of fusion, probably from that mill scale. So it did seem to have an impact on the overall weld. So definitely, reinforces that concept of removing the mill scale. Here we have the hotter settings with the mill scale removed. This should be the best case of the bunch, and if you look at it, it is. So right here, you can see we got good penetration down into the plate on both sides, and you hit that root on both sides. Good weld bead profile, and so definitely what you want to see on those macros. Now if we look at the brake test, this is the one that was hanging on for dear life, but look at that jagged edge all the way along here. You got down into the root throughout, and then you can see this is pulling from within the material, delaminating that along that grain structure. So you definitely have some good sound strength in that weld. I just wanted to point something out here, looking side by side. This is with mill scale and without, both hot settings. So here with the mill scale, if you look at this surface, you can see how it has a different appearance than this. Right here, this is pulling out of that grain structure in the lower plate, down in the base metal, where some of this was right in that region, but a lot of this more egg crate style really was not fused beyond the mill scale. So even with these hotter settings, the mill scale really had an impact. All right, so what's the takeaway from all this? Well, it's no surprise that removing your mill scale is, beneficial, but I was honestly a little bit surprised of how much effect that it had at the higher settings. I thought when you're running a bit hotter, that you wouldn't really see that lack of fusion in the fracture surface like we did, but you definitely did. So even if you are running a bit harder, it's certainly worth removing the mill scale. Also, it only takes a few seconds to remove. It shows better craftsmanship and the weld runs better. So there's really no reason not to take a minute and just knock that mill scale off. If you enjoyed this or learned something, let me know by hitting that thumbs up or leaving me a comment below. And if you are just learning to weld, be sure to check out my online courses. I keep them as affordable as possible and walk you through step by step the whole process so that you can learn faster with hands-on targeted exercises, and you'll be up and going building stuff that you've always wanted to. Thanks a ton for tuning in. We'll see you next time.